Ram. We're continuing to read from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here on Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 12. Nārada Muni has come and he's been speaking to Vyāsadeva. Naiškarmyamapi Achyutabhavavarchitam
Naiškarmyam api achyutabhavavarchitam
Nashobhate Jnanamalam Niranjanam
No shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam
Kata Punashaspadabhadrameshvare
Kuta punaha shashvat abhadram ishvare
Acharpitam karma yadapi akaranam
Nacharpitam karma yat ape akaranam.
Somebody will read?
Yeah, I can read.
Yeah, please.
Translation. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? Purport. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work, which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work in which almost all people in general are engaged is always painful either in the beginning or at the end. It can be fruitful only when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also, it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord. Otherwise, it leads to material bondage. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead, and thus, when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, it becomes an acute source of trouble.
So we were hearing from Nārada Muni. He was saying that mundane literature, that's like a place of pilgrimage for crows, whereas the swans, the Paramhamsas, they relish literatures which glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now he's saying not only about mundane literature, but he's also saying about literature which is speaking only about mental speculation or speaking about the impersonal form of God. Even that is uh, not recommended because they don't clearly explain devotional service. Devotional service is the only activity which can bring complete peace and harmony and bliss to the soul. So literatures which are devoid of devotional service are being said to be like kind of waste of time, you know, for the soul. So in our practical life, we may have to read so much literature which is not directly with devotional service, but then we understand that that's what it is, you know, like understanding, oh, okay, all right, this is material, dealing with material knowledge, and okay, Sri Upanishad says we need to have knowledge of the material world as well as knowledge of the spiritual world. But of course, we have to engage in devotional service. That's what all the sadhus, all the great literatures, Bhagavatam is telling us. So fruitive work, Prabhupada is mentioning here about fruitive work. We are all interested to enjoy the results of the fruitive work. We want to engage in fruitive work. But Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, what you do, whatever you eat, whatever you give away, you offer that to me. And if we can work in that way, then that kind of work can help us to get out of the material world. Otherwise, work binds us in the material world. So this is like doing karma yoga. We do what we like to do, but we offer the result to Krishna, connect the result to Krishna, relate the result to Krishna. Atho Mahabhaga Bhavan Amokadrit.
Ato Mahabhaga
Bhavan
Bhavan
Amo
Amogadrik
Shuchi, Shuchi Shravasatyarato Tamritaha.
Shuchi Shrava Shratyarato Drita
Uru Kramasya Kilabandha Muktaye.
Uru Kramasya Khilabandha Muktaye
Samadhina Samadhina Osmanata Vichestitam.
Samadhinanu Smaratad Vichestitam
Samadhina anu
Translation. O Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. And thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. Purport. People in general have a taste for literature by instinct. They want to hear and read from the authorities something about the unknown, but their taste is exploited by unfortunate literatures which are full of subject matter for satisfaction of the material senses. Such literature contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literature, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are which variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent. Less intelligent men. Thus, the attracted living entities are more and more entangled in material bondage without hope of liberation for thousands and thousands of generations. Sri Narada Rishi, being among the best, being the best amongst the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures, and thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature, which is not only attractive but can also actually bring liberation from all kinds of bondage. Srila Vyasadeva or his representative are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in their thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. The fallen souls are very eager to receive novel informations every day, and the transcendentalists like Vyasadeva or Narada can apply such eager people in general with unlimited news from the spiritual world. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation and that this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. There are thousands and thousands of literary men all over the world, and they have created many, many thousands of literary works for the information of the people in general for thousands and thousands of years. Unfortunately, none of them have brought peace and tranquility on the earth. This is due to a spiritual vacuum in those literatures. Therefore, the Vedic literature, especially the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, are specifically recommended to suffering humanity to bring about the desired effect of liberation from the pangs of material civilization, which is eating the vital part of human energy. The Bhagavad Gita is a spoken message of the Lord Himself, recorded by Vyāsadeva, and the Srimad Bhagavatam is in the transcendental narration of the activities of the same Lord Krishna, which alone can satisfy the hankering desires of living beings for eternal peace and liberation from miseries. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is meant for all the living beings all over the universe for total liberation from all kinds of material bondage. Such transcendental narrations of the pastimes of the Lord can be described only by liberated souls like Vyasadeva and his bona fide representatives who are completely merged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Only to such devotees do the pastimes of the Lord and their transcendental nature become automatically manifest by dint of devotional service. No one else can either know or describe the acts of the Lord, even if they speculate on the subject for many, many years. The descriptions of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever has been predicted in this great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. Therefore, the vision of the author comprehends past, present, and future. Such liberated persons as Vyasadeva are perfectly not only by the power of vision and wisdom, but also in oral reception, in thinking, feeling, and all other sense activities. A, liber- a liberated person possesses perfect senses, and with perfect senses only can one serve the sense proprietor, Rishikesha, Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, is a perfect description of the all perfect personality of Godhead by the all perfect personality Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas.
So Narad Muni is going on to tell Vyasadeva that your vision is completely perfect. No ordinary person can write Vedic literature or transcendental literature, you know, because we are prone to those four defects. So if we write something, it's gonna be having some defect. But Vyasadeva is especially empowered by the Lord to do the service of writing the literature. And firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. So Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that by dint of his devotional service, he is firm in vow. And you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance. So when Srila Vyasadeva, when he's speaking the pastimes of the Lord, he is actually able to see the pastimes. He's not only speaking them, but he's able to see them. And this is how the liberated devotees are. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives, the acharyas, the pure devotees, they are actually being able to see the pastimes because they are liberated. And then this kind of literature, this kind of pastimes, when we hear from the liberated souls, then that brings about our liberation. So like we are hearing from Sukadeva Goswami, Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam has to be heard from the devotees. We are hearing from Sukadeva Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, and they're all coming in the disciplic succession. And by hearing Bhagavatam in the disciplic succession, it can help us conditioned souls to get out of this material world. And the purport Prabhupada is mentioning that there is so much material literature, mundane literature dealing with material world, material affairs. Now with social media, it's become more and more followers, more likes, but that does not bring about peace and harmony in society. It in fact might create more unrest, more envy. And when we hear from transcendental literature, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that can bring about peace and happiness in everyone's life. Is that okay?
Yes, yeah.
Tonyatha kinchanaaya vivekshata.
Tatonyatha kinchana yat viviktata
Tatha drishastat kritarupanamabihi.
pratha agdrishastatkritarupanamadhi
Nakarhi chitvapi chadu sthitamate.
nakarchit-kvapi cha dushchitamati
Abhetavata athanorivaspadam.
labhetavataha naur
Spadam.
ivashpadam. Translation. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different form, names, and results to agitate the mind, as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. Purport. Sri Vyasadeva is the editor of all descriptions of the Vedic literatures, and thus he has described transcendental realization in different ways, namely by fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, mystic power, and devotional service. Besides that, in his various Puranas, he has recommended the worship of so many demigods in different forms and names. The result is that devotees in general are puzzled how to fix their mind in the service of the Lord. They are always disturbed about finding the real path of self realization. Srila Nārada Deva is stressing this particular defect in the Vedic literatures compiled by Vyāsadeva, and thus he is trying to emphasize describing everything in relation with the Supreme Lord and no one else. In fact, there is nothing existent except the Lord. The Lord is manifested in different expansions. He is the root of the complete tree. He is the stomach of the complete body. Pouring water on the root is the right process to water the tree, as much as feeding the stomach supplies energy to all parts of the body. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva should not have compiled any Puranas other than the Bhagavata Purana, because a slight deviation from that may create havoc for self realization. If a slight deviation can create such havoc, then what to speak of deliberate expansion of the idea separate from the absolute truth personality of Godhead? The most defective part of worshipping demigods is that It creates a definite conception of pantheism, ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the progress of the principles of the Bhagavatam, which alone can give the accurate direction for self-realization in eternal relation with the personality of Godhead by devotional service in transcendental love. The example of the boat disturbed by whirling wind is suitable in this respect. The diverted mind or of the pantheist can never reach the perfection of self-realization due to the disturbed condition of the selection of object.
So here Narad Muni is saying that because Vyasadeva, he compiled all the Vedas, he wrote all the Puranas, but a big section of Vedas and Puranas, they are dealing with karmakand activities, when they're dealing with mental speculation, they're dealing with um, mystic powers, they're dealing with demigod worship. So one may get confused. Oh, what am I actually supposed to do? Because yes, the soul has naturally this inclination to search out about self-realization. But then when one approaches the Vedas and sees there is so much different things happening, one may get confused. Oh, what actually I have to do? So this is what Narad Muni is pointing out to Vyasadeva. Because, okay, one may worship the demigods, but then one may think that all the demigods are God. It's natural because when you worship someone, then it's just natural tendency to think that they are God. But because Vyasadeva till now, he has not written anything which is directly saying who is God, how to worship him. This is what Narad Muni is telling him, that people can get misguided by whatever you have written now as to understanding what is the real aim. Or one may get distracted. Someone may get so caught up wanting to go to the heavens, and then they may say, okay, let's just go there, let's just stay there. So then their natural inclination for getting out of the material world, for searching out self-realization will be hampered. So this is what Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva. Here the Lord is said to be the root of the tree. He's said to be the stomach of the body. Like pouring water on the root, the entire tree gets nourished. Putting food inside the stomach, the body gets nourished. And we can't imagine we put food in our eyes or ears. What's going to happen? It create havoc to our body. So this is what this verse is saying. Jugopshitam dharma krite nushasatah.
Jugupsitam dharma krite
Juguप्सितमकृतानुशासतः
स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रमः.
स्वभावरक्तस्य
स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यक्तिक्रमः
यद्वाक्यतो धर्म इति तरः स्थितो
यद्वाक्यतो
यद्व्याख्यतो
धर्म इतरस्
धर्मितर्कितो
न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः.
न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः.
Does anyone else wants to read? Okay, I'll continue. Translation: the people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion and and will hardly care for prohibitions. Purport: Srila Vyasadeva's compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performances of fruitive activities as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literature is condemned here by Srila Nārada. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. They have no sense of the responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home, to revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of life numbering 84 lakhs is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned souls. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life, and as such, the only occupation of the human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God. Under circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religion, the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is authority in Vedic explanations in the Mahabharata, etc., and his encouragement in sense enjoyment in some form or other is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. In the name of religion, as sacrificing animals in the name of yajna were too much rampant. The Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authority of the Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. This was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literature. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating, but gradually the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain the Vedic rites.
So Srila Vyasadeva, he actually wrote these scriptures so that people can regulate the enjoyment. We have this desire to enjoy the material world. That's why we are here. So he wrote these great literatures so that we can regulate the enjoyment and then understand the goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. But what instead, what people do, what we do, is we disregard the goal and we just say, oh, there is this regulation, for example, meat eating here. Okay, so the sacrifice of animals is allowed, so let us sacrifice animals. So people disregard that actually supposed to be done in a regulated manner and not taken advantage of. So that's why Narad Muni is saying, no, you're misguiding the people. You're not clearly telling them. Well, Vyāsadeva wanted that people can gradually elevate their consciousness because everyone is in different level of their consciousness. And so, okay, one may not be able to give up certain activities. So one can do it under certain restrictions. But people don't look at the restrictions. They say, are we allowed to do it, so we should do it. We are allowed to do it, so we should do it. Let's see here, of course, Prabhupada is mentioning that Lord Buddha, he came to stop this kind of activity.
In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population. But it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporeal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life.
So Prabhupada is pointing out that Vedas are telling us that one needs to renounce to be able to understand the goal of life. But then people think, oh no, but renunciation is only for sannyasis because, it's like, for example, there is a buffet and then one will choose, I like this part, but I don't like that part. I like this dish, not like that dish. So that's what people started doing. Oh, that the Vedas, this part is saying worship in this way, enjoy in this way, and this is what I'm going to do. Go to the heavens, and this is what I'm going to do. So it became like kind of no proper direction for people. That what is one supposed to do? What is actually the correct way?
In history like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. But the Bhagavad Gita is there in Mahabharata. The whole idea of the Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instructions of the Bhagavad Gita that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. This compromising spirit of Vyāsadeva is directly condemned by Nārada, who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay.
So Vyasadeva, he wrote Mahabharata, and he put the Bhagavad Gita in there, which is telling us about how to revive our relationship with God. The main topic of Mahabharata is actually Bhagavad Gita to help us understand our true self. But a person who's reading Mahabharata may completely disregard Bhagavad Gita and get involved in all the story, the politics, what's happening, because that's what we are attracted to. So that's what we'll say. Our mind will catch on to that. No, Mahabharata is saying like this, so I should do like this. So Narad Muni is saying people will get distracted. You have to clearly tell what is to be done. Just clearly, without any compromise. You have not written any literature like that, which can actually bring about liberation to people.
A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not at all take. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosophers without spiritual realization, but those who are in the devotional line need not be always so advised.
So here Prabhupada is pointing out, the doctor, if somebody has a particular disease, say diabetes, so no, not to eat sugar. So then the doctor will say, no, you can't eat sugar. But because the person has the tendency to eat sugar, that's why, of course, he got diabetic. So the doctor will say, no, but you can't eat it. If he's really expert, well, now we see the doctor say, yeah, chalta hai, you can take a little. Some of them may say that. But anyway, what the point here to understand is Bhagavad Gita is saying that, okay, you can't do this, you do this, you can't do this, you do this, you can't do this. So there is like kind of gradual elevation so that one can be encouraged to come to the spiritual path. But Vyasadeva did not write any literature that just do this. Those who are ready to accept devotional service, those for them, there's nothing that, okay, you just engage in this and the goal of life will be met. You can revive your relationship with God. So this is why Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that you shouldn't have written so much, because you've written so much because you want to do good for people, but people have a tendency to engage in, to enjoy the material world. So they'll find a section which is suitable for them, which pleases them, and then completely misunderstand that the goal is self-realization. The goal is to revive love for God. One may just get so involved in all the other rites and rituals and all those things that you have mentioned, or mental speculation, that one will not understand, oh, we have to revive our relationship with God. Is that okay?
Yes.
Did you want to comment anything? What? Because it's true, no? We can see it practically. That's what happens. Because we don't understand, and then we'll say, but here in this section, this is mentioned, so this should be done, and all is being done in name of religion.
So
Which,
Naraji is trying to say that
hmm,
that just engage in devotional service. That's
yeah,
what he's trying to say. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Narad Muni is telling Vyasadeva that you've not yet written any one literature which is directly telling people what they should do. You confuse them because in name of religion, you're giving them so many different things. So they'll just pick and choose and actually forget. They will not be able to realize that the goal is to revive love for Krishna, to actually engage in devotional service. So you've written so much, but how will anyone know what is actually to be, what is the goal of life? This is what Narad
Yeah,
Muni is telling us.
and it's so vast. Like, how will a person be able to, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
true.
And because it's so vast and so much variety is there, so and we have this desire to enjoy the material world, so we'll choose a section which appeals to us and say, no, 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 this is correct. And in the name of religion, we will continue doing this without understanding. Oh, what? No, this is supposed to be a ladder. It's supposed to be, I'm not supposed to stay on this level. It's for me to gradually elevate myself. Because Vyasadeva wanted like kind of a gradual elevation. But one may get stuck in there thinking that, no, this is what it is. So Narad Muni is saying, how will people get out of this world? How will people know what's the goal of life, of this human life? Which is like, human life is a window for us to get out of this material world. So he's saying, you're in fact misguiding the people. or people might get misguided. People might not be able to understand your real intention, because we have this such a deep desire to enjoy the material world. Is that okay?
Yes. And he himself, Vyasadeva, he was not satisfied, right? After writing so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was also not
He
satisfied,
felt,
also
yeah.
because of the same reason.
Okay.
Yeah, he was also not satisfied for the same reason. So Narad Muni is also confirming him. Yes, what you're feeling is right. Sometimes we may feel something, but if an authority tells us, then we know for sure, okay, now what I have to do.
Right.
Yeah. Vichakshanosyarhati veditam vibhu.
विचक्षणो अरस्य अर्हति वेदुं विभो
Vibhu.
Anantaparasya nivritita sukham.
अनन्तपारस्य निवृत्तितसुखम्
Avartamanasya guneranatmanas.
प्रवर्तमानस्य गुणे अनात्मनः
Tato bhavan darshaya chestitam vidho.
ततो भवान् दर्शयचेष्टितं विभो
Translation: The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality retired from the activities of material happiness deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Purport: Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert who have almost retired from materialistic activities by culture of spiritual knowledge can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds and thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendentally realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in this science, and he is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it, and Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it.
By realization, Narad Muni is saying, because you are realized, so you will be able to write this literature. Shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through the description of transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining, Krishna himself is saying that out of many thousands of men who are interested in self-realization, one may actually get liberation. And out of thousands of such liberated people, one can hardly understand him. To understand God as a person, not very easy to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Lord himself. Not very easy, but by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it's become easy now. Lord Chaitanya has given this, he's opened the doors to everyone, but otherwise it was, only people who are like really into spiritual life, they would be able to get access to such knowledge. But your Lord Chaitanya, he's like giving it out freely to everyone. Like, come and take. And Srila Prabhupada following in the footsteps, also giving this knowledge to everyone. So anyway, Narad Muni is telling to Vyāsadeva that you directly glorify the Supreme Lord, directly speak about his activities, give like a direct instruction to the people what they have to do. You know, when somebody goes round and round and then tells us the point, we may miss out the point and just get too confused in all the language. So Narad Muni is saying, no, you just directly speak about the Supreme Lord.
Srimad Bhagavatam is a topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual, literary incarnation of the Lord, so the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord and thus gradually become purified from material diseases. The expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibit expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization.
So Bhagavatam is literally incarnation of Krishna. So that's how it's non-different from Krishna. Speaking all about the transcendental activities of the Lord. So just as being with the Lord is purifying by chanting his name is purifying, chanting his glories is also purifying. So the more we associate with Bhagavatam, the more purified we will get. And the more the society as a whole will get purified. This is what Prabhupada is saying, that how expertly Lord Chaitanya and his followers are spreading Bhagavatam in society for our benefit. So we can have a peaceful life, understand what is the goal of life, and go back home, back to Godhead. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So Bhagavatam, Lord Chaitanya, he stressed so much. He would continuously hear Bhagavatam when from Gadadhar Pandit, and when he was specifically reading the section of Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, he would tell him, repeat again. Like the pastime would finish, he would say, please say the same pastime again. Like this, many times he would relish the Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam, if we can encourage more and more people to study Bhagavatam, hear Bhagavatam, it can bring about actual peace and prosperity in society. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you so much for listening and enjoying it. Hare